Dr. Rajkumar Adukia. May I now request Dr. Rajkumar Adukia to please render his keynote address.
Dynamic Chairman of Bangalore branch, C.A. Prabhu, diamonds in the team of Bangalore branch, and team means together everyone achieves more. And this necklace, diamond necklace, is more effective because of dedicated past President K. Raghu's services available to them. Seniors in the profession and dear colleagues, I would like to congratulate each one of you to join this program and coming here today, spending a day. It is work not only for a new area called forensic accounting, but the skill can be used even for our auditing, which we are doing. Our performance will be better. Our reports will be better. Our peace of mind and sleep will be better, because we will have a comfort that we have discharged our responsibilities in an effective manner. The science of understanding any subject is going to the root. I always adore Allama Prabhu. He go to the history. So the history of forensic is, there are two words, forensic accounting, and we will come to another two words, fraud prevention. So forensic accounting, the word forensic has come from Latin word called forenses. If we go to Google, and forenses means before public, and there you will see a Google in the room, there is a picture, where there is a public meeting taking place. And now we use this word in the laboratory. So forensic means it is undisputable, it is unchallengeable. So this is forensic. Audit, we can always say, we say it is a true and fair view. It is an opinion of an auditor. Another auditor can have a different opinion on the same financial statement. But in forensic, another forensic accountant cannot have a different opinion. Then second word is accounting. If we Google out, we will get little confused in the first study, first research, because some Google will say forensic auditing and some website will say forensic accounting. I was also confused when I took over as a chairman on 12th February 2015, and I felt that the word is wrong, it should be forensic auditing. How an accountant will be doing a wrong job? So this accounting was coined in 1920 by an American certified public accountant. So accounting means we are producing a report which is undisputable, unchallengeable in many areas. So it can be, say, in case of a partnership firm, when retiring partner or an admitting partner has to pay goodwill, so what will be a goodwill amount? It can be on a merger of business. It can be partition in a family. If it is a divorce matter, it can be a divorce claim. So forensic accounting services, forensic audit is a subset of forensic accounting. So forensic accounting is larger and auditing is a smaller part of. So that clarity, I always say confusion leads to clarity. So when we get confused, we should become happy, because we will reach to right answer. If we are not confused, anything is acceptable as a right answer. So forensic accounting got evolved out of necessity, because the auditing was not filling that gap where undisputable report is required. In our audit and assurance standards, there are 4 kinds of assurances. Can somebody tell me what are these 4 kinds of assurances? Very quickly, because there is a time limit given by the chairman. So these 4 are: one is reasonable assurance audit, where we give a positive opinion, true and fair view. Then second is review. Review reports are negative reports, that we have not come across any material misstatement and things like that. Third is 100% assurance, where we give certificate. And fourth is no assurance, zero assurance. The report title is Accountant's Report, when we compile financial statements from books of accounts and things like that. So forensic accounting, all our code of conduct will apply. Schedule 1, Schedule 2 will also apply. All services, whether we are valuer, whether we are arbitrator, whether we are forensic accountant. Now, when the fraud started in the world, Prabhu rightly said, fraud started long back. In the barter system, when property came into existence, fraud started. Now we see the Ashoka serial, there was a fraud. The accounting done in the treasury was not correct. Part of money was stolen. So, and whether there will be a fraud after 5,000 years? Yes. And magnitude will be maybe 1,000 times more than today's fraud. So this practice is eternal. It will never die. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, God is given for the need of everyone, but not for the greed. So this greed makes people to do fraud. Perpetrators gets born. Then comes, in forensic accounting, major area, the major space is in fraud detection. So we talk about fraud detection. So then there is something called fraud theory or fraud triangle. In triangle there are 3 points. So 3 base is there in a fraud. And the best way to remember anything is to make acronym. So I have made POR, P-O-R. So P means there is a pressure. So somebody's financial need increases, somebody gets married and the spouse says, no, I want a bungalow to live in, or I want a Mercedes car. There is a pressure. Then the pressure itself will not have a fraud happen. Second is there should be an opportunity to do a fraud. So POR, opportunity is when the internal controls are weak. So fraud prevention, where fraud prevention is not there, then opportunities are maximum. Where the controls are weak, and before that I will come to, fraud happens, we can broadly divide into 2 areas, physical fraud and digital fraud. Before coming here, Chairman sir inaugurated digital library. So we had a physical library there, and now we have a digital library for all of us. So there is a physical security, physical internal control, like we put a lock here, and there is a cyber security or digital security. So Sundar will be speaking on digital security, and like physical fraud investigation, we have a digital fraud investigation. We have Fanindra who has come all the way from Hyderabad, and an expert on this will also share his experience on that. So I was on 3 points of fraud theory, and we should also go who invented this theory. So there was a gentleman called Donald R. Creasy. that this person was an American psychologist, American criminologist. And easy to remember, how we remember, Raghu and myself, we have regional council, central council, or you can remember by debit, DRC, debit C. So Donald R. Cressy, you must remember the full name, because to our client we should sound an expert. I'll come to that little bit, how to market. See, spending the money and spending one day will not get you the work. So now we have full 10 days course on forensic accounting. Half a day we have devoted how to market. And Raghu sir, this we must have in our institute also. When we visit overseas, the institutes have built books on how to market services. And that is an essential, because we are in a competitive world. After Competition Act 2002, a lawyer is doing a forensic accounting, a company secretary is doing a forensic accounting, a cost accountant is doing a forensic accounting. So how a chartered accountant is better than other professionals? We are better because we know tax, we know economics, we know accounting, we know law, we know the whole business. So coming to 3 points, POR, the third R is rationalization. Rationalization means the business fraud, and then we have an external frauds. So the science of forensic accounting is in our blood. When we do CA, this skill gets accelerated more. Can somebody tell me a technical term for this skill in auditing? Yes, but to define it further, professional skepticism. So skepticism can be of a layman also, which is there in each one of us. At house, my wife tells me, she calls me Raj, you always doubt me. I said the blame should go to Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, because in my blood there is a professional skepticism, an inquiring attitude. I cannot take anything at face value. And Raghu knows, in the institute I raised a lot of professional skepticism query, because that has come in the nature. Now we may be an animal, we are watchdog, but in forensic accounting we become bloodhound, and very strong bloodhound. So what is forensic accounting? We have a full session on red flag. We have 1 crore transactions, we cannot investigate 1 crore transaction. Now this is a layman also. Suppose if we travel by train or someplace, you have seen the ticket checkers inquire with only that person who does not have a ticket. There may be 1,000 passengers going. So he knows who is the person who is not facing. So red flag, this is again common sense. There are green flags and yellow flags. So green means you go, you ignore them. Yellow, there is a doubt, there may be a clue for fraud, may not be. But red means, so if there are missing vouchers, there are abnormal transactions, and then there are science available, the technology available, we call it a data analytics. So we have conventional tools like MS Excel, MS Access, and then we have a new tools like IDEA, ACL, SQL, and there are some open source softwares available. So in one full day, you will get a bird's eye view of the whole forensic accounting. So we have a red flag, we have a data analytics, and then we have something called interviewing technique. Interview happens, in a friendly atmosphere. How many of you have done DISA? What is social engineering? There is a terminology which comes in the protection of information assets. So you become more friendly with a perpetrator or suspect and extract a lot of information, what is lifestyle, how that person has got wealth. So you have an interviewing technique. And interrogation is normally done by authorities, under Police Act and things like that. And then you will have a data analytics. And then one will collect, see, the purpose of forensic accounting is not to detect fraud, because just by detecting fraud, the organization is not benefited. The purpose of forensic accounting is to recover the defrauded money immediately and as early as possible. So the forensic accountant should know all the laws which are relevant for fraud. So Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Indian Penal Code, there are laws like Copyright Act, Trademark Act, where a search can get conducted at those places, FEMA. So all these Indian Evidence Act, and these are all simple. See, it is our mind. Some book, Secret and Silva Mind Control, Power of Mind. Whatever mind will think, will be able to achieve. Today Mr. Raghu is past president because he was confident that he will be president. So, if we feel a subject is tough, it will remain tough. If we feel it is easy, it is our subject. Many members, when I talk to them, sir, law is a lawyer's subject. I tell in a forum of lawyers that we are better legal professional than you. Because we know income tax, accounting, business. So, we need to know. I am doing a first operation on you. Please don't pay me my fees. I will give you 10,000. Whether patient will get operated from such a doctor. Same thing applies to us. A forensic accountant tells a client, no, I have never done any forensic accounting job. This is the first job I am doing for you. We will not get the work. There we have to tell like an MBA, see, I have done hundreds of transactions, I have found out so many red flags. Your mind has to speak in that manner. And there is no violation of Code of Ethics, Raghu sir, Clause 6, Clause 7 of Schedule 1. Because when we do CA, these two schedules disturbs us. Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 of Chartered Accountant Act 1949, that we study because in our auditing paper some questions comes out of that. Therefore whole life, this clause 6 and clause 7, two clauses. Recently I made a recommendation to the council, please delete these two clauses if you want profession to prosper. Because other firms like KPMG, they have registered a firm in Indian Partnership Act 1932. If you see their visiting card, I think one of the faculty is also from, but never mind, this is a fact. They write, a firm registered in India, KPMG, and they have a KPMG India Institute on IFRS. Now I can't have Adukia and Associates IFRS Institute. So we have to learn marketing, make a blog, make a website, maybe open a company. If you can't do marketing in your partnership firm, become a speaker. Because the person who speaks, I get a lot of clients after my address, This is a fact. So find out, Federation of Karnataka Chambers, make a forensic accounting committee, become a chairman there. Go to Rotary clubs, talk there. Find out other Chamber of Commerce. There are so many social organizations. The second bucket, fraud prevention. This applies even to a very, very small business, pan wala, or a small idli wala, that also, because fraud, every business 5% profit goes in fraud, small or medium or a big. So prevention is better than cure. So what is fraud prevention? Strengthening internal control system. What is internal control? Policies and procedures laid down by the business for protection of assets and attainment of business objectives. And then you should use the jargon, COSO internal control framework. Then little bit you have to study. COSO is Committee of Sponsoring Organization of Tradeway Commission. It's a US organization. Same COSO, it is there in our auditing standard. Which auditing standard? There are many auditing experts. Quick answer. I have got, surprise gifts for those who will answer my questions. Sorry? Yes. Who is that? Yes, sir. SA 315 and SA 330 is the mother of auditing standard. What is SA 315? Is assessment of risk. And Appendix A of SA 315 gives 5 points of internal control which is there in COSO. So what are those? Control environment. So if this hall is to be protected, you have a security outside. Then you assess risk. The more valuable property needs more checking. Then control activity. Each activity you control, purchase you control, sales you control. Then information and communication. If there is a transparency, I always say in the council also, you bring transparency, then less wrong will happen. And fifth in auditing comes in monitoring. Like we have three terminology: internal check, internal control and internal audit, which is widest other than Mr. Ramchandran. Internal control is the widest. And internal audit is a subset. It's so simple. So fraud prevention is another area which is a platinum mine for each one of us. Now we have another opportunities, Companies Act. There is something called 134 5E, which talks of, they have added one word, financial, internal financial control, which is very wide. Orderly conduct of business, efficient control over assets, fraud prevention measures and fraud detection measures. There are 5 limbs under 134 5E, which applies to all companies, private, public, one-person company, Section 8 companies, all are covered. And auditor has to report under 143 3I whether internal financial controls are there. At institute level, I tell them, why we should narrow down. We have made a representation and now they have said, okay, only on financial it will apply. So our scope of work is got reduced because I fall in minority in the council. There I said, if full internal financial control is there, our opportunities will be more. Making corporate governance framework, making risk management framework, doing an audit, strengthening of risk management, strengthening of internal control system. So this is in very brief the gamut of forensic accounting and fraud prevention. This year, this course was started in 2009 by CA Atul Beda and CA Vedjan was the president. And between 2009 to 2015, before I took over, there were 23 batches. And between February 2015 to today, we have conducted 29 batches. What was done in 6 years, we have done more than that. Because the scope, every bank is maintaining forensic auditors panel. All PSUs are needing these services. So please start marketing from today only. You need not do that 10 days course. 10 days course also we are doing in Bangalore somewhere at February end. This is a marketing seminar for that. Because we wanted participants, 2-3 times we postponed. So we thought let us have a reasonably priced seminar. Give a bird's eye view of what is this subject. This is not a German subject, this is not a rocket science. We already know forensic accounting, we already know fraud prevention. But we are refining our knowledge. We are giving a more scientific name to our existing knowledge. So wish you a very, very prosperous and satisfying career in forensic accounting and fraud prevention. I will be always available, those who want to write book, those who want to become faculty, those who want to address somewhere. Because in this world, there is only one product which I was corrected, two product, that knowledge and happiness. More you share, the sharer receives more. So let us become a more gatherer of knowledge and happiness by sharing it with more and more colleagues. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for inviting me here. I'll be there till lunch time, so those who want to interact with me during lunch, or those who want to give me some assignment, if they already have some forensic work, or those, where we can have a team building. In mathematics, the formula which is used by me and proved is 1 plus 1 is 11 and not 2. So if two persons come together, the synergy brings 11 times the effect. And it is not just a mathematical addition of 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Multifaceted, multitasking expert, having authority over various topical fields of our profession, and you have benefited our profession in many manners. Particularly, almost all have at least one book of yours that you have published, and we are thankful for all of your contributions. Thank you, sir. May I now request C.A.K. Raghu to please address the gathering. I deem it a great honor to be amongst you this morning, Saturday morning, to speak to you on something about some of the frauds that have taken place in India and how we as professionals can play a very important role in detecting these frauds. And as my good friend Dr. Rajkumar Adukia said, the profession has a very big role to play in discovering frauds, in reporting frauds, and the entire regulatory mechanism looks at the CA profession, whether it's the Reserve Bank of India, whether it's the Securities Exchange Board of India, whether it's the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Whenever a big fraud takes place, the first gaze is at the auditor. And I think there's a lot of responsibility on us to detect frauds, to report frauds. And I would like to compliment Dr. Rajkumar Adukia for having received his doctorate. Let's give him a big round of applause. Rajkumar Adukia has served for 6 terms in the Central Council. 6 into 3 is 18 years continuously. He's from Bombay, a very popular council member from Bombay. And he has served in almost all the standing and non-standing committees of the institute. And I'm very happy that Rajkumar Adukia has come to Bangalore, this beautiful city. We extend a very warm welcome to you. Friends, the IT committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has been doing an excellent job under his leadership. We have launched the certification courses on forensic audit and fraud detection, which is a big success across the country. And the post-qualification course on information systems audit also is a big success. The committee has been doing a lot of work, and I'm sure Rajkumarji, Bangalore would have a lot of forensic experts way forward, and I'm sure this initiative would help more and more professionals to get to know more about forensic audit and fraud detection. Having said that, Mr. Allama Prabhu, the chairman of the Bangalore branch, who will be laying down office shortly, has done an excellent job. And friends, when I travel around the country, more than 147 branches, we visit about 60 to 70 branches. Let me tell you, friends, the Bangalore branch is one of the most active branches. It's doing an excellent job. My compliments to Allama Prabhu, to you and your team for the good work they've been doing relentlessly. And just this morning, we dedicated a digital library for the students of the profession, for the members of the profession. My compliments and congratulations for all the hard work you're putting. Friends, having said this, let me straight away get on to the topic, forensic accounting and fraud detection. Mr. Rajkumar Adukia has very rightly talked about what is forensic accounting, what is fraud detection. But let me just take you through a different sort of a story as to what is happening in the country today, what are the new frauds that are coming in large numbers, because as Rajkumar said, forensic accounting is a specialized field of accounting, but what is required here for each one of us, not all of us would have an appetite for investigation. what I've seen whenever I speak to chartered accountants, when I tell them why don't you get into forensic accounting, why don't you get into fraud detection, they're not very keen to get into it. They are okay with reporting on frauds, okay and looking at frauds on a very macro level. But when you ask them to investigate, we find that many of them are not interested. So you need to have a bent of mind to get into this area, forensic audit and fraud detection, because you have to investigate the fraud, analyze the financial information, and then collect forensic evidence, for which you need to have additional skill sets. So what is happening is that we are focusing on detecting of financial frauds because we're all finance professionals and the stakeholders expect us to detect financial frauds. So the whole gamut of accounting, investigative audit and litigation support is required. Some amount of knowledge of law is also very important. Yes, knowledge of technology also, because today the entire ecosystem, accounting ecosystems happen on computers. We have sophisticated ERP systems which is connected to the head office, to the regional offices, to the branch, which is connected again to the warehouses. And we feel you need to have the knowledge of technology, and without the knowledge of technology, without the knowledge of law, without the knowledge of criminology, I think you'll not be able to effectively discharge your duties as a forensic expert. As Rajkumar very rightly said, I had the opportunity of interacting with a few forensic experts in London when we had a meeting last year. And let me tell you friends, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales have specialized courses in forensic audit and fraud detection. And there are so many experts in Europe today specializing in this area, and I see a huge opportunity for all of us, even in a country like India. Having said this, today what is expected is integrity and transparency of financial statements, and corporate governance is again gaining a lot of importance thanks to the number of frauds that have taken place in India. We have seen that corporate governance has given a very big push, and even in the new Companies Act, a lot of provisions have been amended to see that good corporate governance practices are adhered to by the companies. And what is happening is that due to the increasing number of frauds, many frauds get detected, many frauds don't get detected, and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which has a fraud SFI or Serious Fraud Investigation Office, has so many frauds which is being investigated. Many of the frauds are being referred to the institute because many members of our profession are involved with the management in perpetuating the fraud. The Serious Fraud Investigation Office is a separate department within the Ministry of Corporate Affairs that looks into all the frauds, all the large size frauds, and whenever they find that a member of our profession is involved in the fraud, first thing is that they carry out an initial study, they send you a report and ask the institute to look into the role of the member concerned. This is a pitch of the major scams that have taken place in the recent past. Waste management scam, 98, 100 million, Enron, WorldCom, all of this, many of us are aware. These are all the global, scams that have frauds that have taken place. Today, friends, in a country like Europe, the relevance of the auditing profession is being questioned due to the increasing number of frauds. There was a presentation made in the board meeting of the International Federation of Accountants, where I am a board member, wherein we have a representative from Europe. He went about talking about what the lawmakers feel about the auditing profession. As and when the number of frauds keep increasing, definitely I think the lawmakers would have something to say about the auditing profession. I think we need to be aware of this fact, and in Europe, which is going through a crisis today, the auditing profession is being blamed for it, the auditing profession is being questioned, and in all the presentation that was made in the board meeting in IFAC, we found that the auditing profession was put under a lens. These are the frauds that have taken place in India, major frauds. Harshad Mehta scam, 91, many members of our profession were involved. Fodder scam, the UTI scam, the food grain scam, most popularly Satyam scam. Satyam scam shook the profession. I think all of you would still remember when the Satyam scam broke out, the first profession to get impacted was the CA profession. We had a meeting of the council, Mr. Rajkumar Adukia would remember, wherein the president of the institute then called us to Delhi for a special meeting of the council. We were just given 24 hours time to report to Delhi. On the day the scam broke out, we all were asked to come to Delhi, and we all flew to Delhi the same day. And let me tell you friends, we spent one full day as to what exactly happened, what exactly is the reason for this fraud, and that is when we set up a special high-power committee to look into the Satyam fraud. Proactively, we interacted with all the regulators, we interacted with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and we said yes, the institute would partner with the government to see how best we can try to find out what exactly has happened in this financial fraud of Satyam. And the institute went about to set up a special bench of the disciplinary committee to investigate into this fraud, and it took almost 4 years for us to complete the entire process. And last year, when I was the president, we had to conclude this case, and 4 members of our profession were held guilty of professional misconduct, and these were the only 4 membership which was cancelled last year. So what I mean to say, friends, is that Satyam shook the basic, what you can say, the profession has so much of, what you say, recognition, respect, but whenever we go to the regulators, they talk about Satyam. And I can tell you very frankly, this shook the entire profession. Then again, we have the Sahara India Parivar scam, the Colgate scam, and the Sharda Group financial scam, which is in different stages of investigation. What really happens in a big corporate scam that takes place, many investigation agencies get into the role. You have the courts looking into the files that have been, criminal cases that have been filed against the perpetrators of the fraud. Then you have the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which is looking into it. Then you have the Reserve Bank of India, the Securities Exchange Board of India, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So a whole lot of investigative activity happens, and many regulators and many organizations and many bodies are involved in investigating these particular scams. And that is why many of us feel that there's so much of delay. Why is it Satyam fraud that took place 4 years back? Why is it the institute has taken so much time? Many of us have seen in the media. But let me tell you, friends, we have a lot of obstacles before us to complete, because principles of natural justice, you need to give adequate time to the witness, to the person who has made a complaint, to the respondents. We have to examine various witnesses from the various regulatory bodies. We need to also give them time, and the court proceedings also come in the way wherein we have to wait for the court proceedings to complete, as a result of which a lot of time takes place for us to conclude whether a member of our profession is guilty or not. Coming quickly to the various types of frauds that all of us should keep in mind is the frauds that's taking place in the banking industry. I think most of us are involved in engaging ourselves in bank branch audits at the end of the year. What is very important is whenever you're carrying out a bank branch audit, you need to find out what are the frauds that have taken place. However small the fraud might be, you need to investigate into the fraud. You need to find out how the fraud has taken place. And many a times we find that concurrent auditors of many nationalized banks don't report on the frauds. We have so many cases being referred to the institute by various nationalized banks, wherein they say members of our profession are carrying out concurrent audit of the banks without even examining the frauds. So if you're the concurrent auditor of a bank branch, it is absolutely essential for you to investigate each and every fraud that takes place in the bank. And many times you'll be shocked and surprised to know that some of the frauds that have been identified by the bank are not even reported by the concurrent auditor of that particular branch, and that is where the profession is put in poor light. Then also you have frauds taking place in the banking industry. So many big what you can say, loans go bad, and when you look into it, you find there's a fraud that has taken place. When you are conducting a year-end audit, you have to go into great detail all the frauds that is taking place. Coming to corporate frauds, yes, frauds get detected, some of them don't get detected, some of them are big, some of them are large, and as Rajkumar Adukia very rightly said, many of the frauds don't get detected at all. Even in the course of audit, we don't come across these frauds. Insurance frauds, another big area, with the insurance sector in our country opening up, so many frauds are taking place, and I think all of us are aware as to the kind of frauds that are taking place in the insurance sector. Healthcare frauds, another big area. Cyber frauds, today you can buy your clothes on the internet, you can buy so many things sitting at home, and as a result of which transactions taking place on the internet platform, there's a opportunity for you to lose your money by swiping. Many a times we just give our credit card numbers. When we get a PIN, we don't get it validated properly, and we find that a lot of money is withdrawn from your account. And we find that cyber frauds are increasing, and it is absolutely essential for us to keep in mind with the use of technology, with the use of internet for conducting commercial transaction, cyber frauds have increased. Securities frauds and consumer frauds are other types of frauds. Coming to cyber frauds, friends, I think this is one big area where each one of us can play a role. It's been a major threat to businesses due to rapid computerizations. Today, the brick and mortar businesses are slowly giving way to the business on the internet. Transactions take place, payments are made on the internet, on the payment gateway. So I think there need to be a lot of IT security controls that have to be built in, and we as chartered accountants, having the knowledge of information systems audit, can carry out effective audit in these computerized environments. So these are the kind of cyber threats like phishing, password theft, spoofing, tampering. All these are very common. And today, cyber attacks in the recent years, 72% of Indian companies faced cyber attacks. Sony Pictures, loss of several internet data centers, and Staples is a leading company just dealing in stationery, access to information about 1.16 million credit cards. Can we have the video on cyber frauds, please?
Create strong passwords and change them every 90 days. Avoid using your name, birthday, or initials. 3. Check for secure wireless connections when working in public places like a coffee shop. 4. Keep an eye out for phishing emails. Lock your laptop and read privacy policies when shopping online. 5. Only share personal information on encrypted websites. Look for HTTPS at the beginning of the web address to be sure it's encrypted. 6. Use identity protection software and services. 7. Request a copy of your credit reports to monitor activity. 8. Copy important files onto the removal disk or external hard drive and store them in a safe place. If your computer is compromised, you still have access to your files. Cyber hackers show no signs of stopping. But with the help of cybersecurity experts and these precautions, you can better protect your personal information with ease. Computer information systems professionals and those in the related fields are in high demand as they take on the fight against cybercrime. In fact, over the next 10 years, information security careers are expected to grow at a rate of 37%, much faster than average. For a second, recently, cybercrime surpassed drug trafficking as a criminal money maker. It's a hot topic in the news and the theft ending. How do you protect yourself? 1. Monitor credit card savings weekly and file any questionable activity you need. 2.
I think can you switch it on? Friends, this video gives us an idea as to kind of opportunities for each one of us in identifying cyber attacks, cyber crimes. Can you go to the PowerPoint, please? So what is happening? What is influencing cyber attacks? Today, lack of security controls in the company design principles, lack of the company to understand the root cause of the attacks, and today we find there is lack of technical expertise. Whenever you investigate cyber frauds, you find that the organization is not having technical expertise, and ineffective threat analysis is something which we come to know. And what is important is that cyber attacks, you should know who are your potential attackers, you should understand their objectives, find out what are the tactics they're using to carry out an attack, establish or enhance the risk, detect violations, and establish the ability to quickly return to normal operations by trying to damage the repair that has happened to the business. So this is where there's a lot of opportunity for us, and today the audit committee has an equal role in establishing and ensuring cyber security. If you are a part of the audit committee, please ensure that the company has a proper secure cyber security. If you are able to interact with the management, try to ensure whether the management is assessing the risks that are there in the organization. If you are an internal auditor, you're responsible for regularly reviewing the controls pertaining to cybersecurity, and if you're an external auditor, you can be a valuable source of information on cybersecurity and may well assist in assessing cybersecurity. So you have a role to play if you're an internal auditor, if you're an external auditor, if you're an audit committee, if you're advising the management. I think we as professionals have a very important role to play. There are many techniques. Rajkumar very rightly said that this particular program is a program for you to initiate, to get to know what is happening in this world. You need to do the certification program for you to understand the various techniques of detecting frauds, how exactly you go about in trying to find out how exactly the fraud is committed. Friends, another big area which I feel in forensic accounting and fraud detection, which again forensic accounting is data mining, wherein chartered accountants are called upon to examine large amount of data, and today we find that tremendous opportunities are there in big data. Globally, chartered accountants are in great demand. Chartered accountants with the knowledge of big data are in great demand, because what really happens is that unstructured data is converted to structured data, and on the basis of the structured data, conclusions are drawn by chartered accountants. I think there are a lot of tools available for doing data analytics. Data analytics is one area. There's a lot of opportunity today. Most of the corporates are looking at chartered accountants with data analytics in mind. Quickly coming to the frauds that took place in the recent past, I thought I'll just pick up 3 frauds. One was the Satyam scam, just to recollect what happened. The entire IT disturbed the entire IT industry in the whole nation. This was one scam that caused a lot of loss to the investor, 14,162 crores. Ramalinga Raju, one of the promoters, and his family members secured illegal gains to the tune of 2,743 crores. This is the kind of gain that they had made because of the fraud. And fraud, as you know, was perpetuated by inflating the revenue of the company through false invoices and showing corresponding gains by forging the bank statements. So we had forged false invoices and forged bank statement with the convenience of the statutory internal auditor of the company, and the annual financial statements with inflated revenue were published for several years, which led to higher prices of the scrip in the market. Attempts were made to conceal the fraud by acquiring the companies of the kith and kin. CID revealed that the actual number of employees was only 40,000, whereas 53,000 was reported, and Mr. Raju had been allegedly withdrawing 200 million every month for paying these 13,000 non-existent employees. Inflated figures for cash and bank balances of 5,040 crores. Operating profits were artificially boosted from 61 to 649 crores. Showed an interest earning of 370 crores that was completely featured. This was the complete big picture of the Satyam scam. I had the opportunity of investigating this from the institute. There was a special bench that was created. We could have an opportunity, we could get an idea as to how exactly the auditors were involved, the internal auditors, the statutory auditors, and the CFO of that company were involved in perpetuating this fraud. And let me tell you, friends, it was just a big eye-opener. And what didn't come to the rescue of the auditor was that he absolutely had no audit documentation to support whatever he has done. Friends, today audit documentation is very important, very critical for each one of us. You're permitted to keep your audit evidence digitally. You don't need to carry physical copies of the audit documentation. You need to ensure that you maintain adequate. And whenever we investigated in Satyam scam, we found that the auditors were lacking with audit evidence. Nevertheless, when we realized that yes, they were also involved in perpetuating the fraud with the management, I think there was no other option but to hold them guilty for professional misconduct, and as a result of which they had to lose their certificate of membership. Coming to the Reebok scam, which is still under progress. This is another high-profile scam that took place, which came into light in 2012. Reebok International filed a complaint with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India against the auditors of this particular company. The amount involved in the fraud was about 870 crores. Subhinder Singh Prem, former managing director, and Vishnu Bhagat, former chief operating officer, were key members involved in this fraud. What happened in this fraud, friends, again was over-invoicing to the tune of 147 crores. Fake invoices to the tune of 98 crores were made to claim promotions, bonuses, and incentives. Then false franchisee referral programs were receipts from were about 114 crores. They had maintained 4 secret warehouses. They used to raise fake invoices, divert all the stocks to the secret warehouses where the company goods were kept, And to finance the operation, they also took loans from bank by using fake invoices and raised deposit from high net worth individuals. Goods were being siphoned to ghost companies and distributors across the country, claiming them to be defective pieces. Cases were filed at the Gurgaon police station and investigated by the Serious Fraud Investigation Office. The Serious Fraud Investigation Office went through this entire fraud, made a report and sent it to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and we have commenced the proceedings against this particular scam, and the proceedings are going on. We did have a couple of sittings, but this would take some more time for us to conclude this particular scam. Again, Global Trust Bank scam, another huge scam. The reason why I've chosen all these three, that is the Satyam and the Global Trust and Reebok, with friends, I was involved in in the display proceedings of all these three particular scams. Global Trust Bank was wrong financial disclosure in the financial statement for 3 years, 2000, 2001, 2001, 2002, 2002, 2003. RBI declared a 3-month moratorium on July 24, 2004. And throughout its decade-long existence, the top management of the bank concentrated exclusively on generating returns to its key stakeholders. That was the motive. Their motive was to see that the key stakeholders are able to generate good returns. They were involved in the stock market scam of 2001, in which the lead artist was the stockbroker Ketan Parekh. They lent heavily to players in the capital market, and when the market crashed, the bank's balance sheet suffered a gaping hole because share prices had dropped dramatically. In 2001, when attempting to merger with UTI Bank, they lent more than 800 crores and much of them were proved injudicious. And 2001 and 2, the net worth was claimed to be 400 crores, which on inspection was by the Reserve Bank of India was found to be negative. The then chairman, Mr. Ramesh Geli, colluded with the Ketan Parekh to push up the share price. So this was another big scam that took place where many of our professionals were involved. We investigated the books, this particular scam from 4 assessment years. The institute took a decision that we have to go to all the 4 financial years. And what we do is, when we carry out a dispute proceeding, in addition to the partner who's carrying out the engagement, we also look at the role played by the review partner, and we also look at the role played by the engagement partner. In most of the big multinational firms, they have a concept known as a signing partner, they have an engagement partner, they have a review partner. Here in Global Trust Bank, the council took a decision that we have to examine the roles of all the 3 partners who were involved in this, because the size of the scam was big. Many shareholders lost a lot of money, and we felt Rajkumar Adukia will agree with me the kind of effort the council put to see that we were able to bring to a conclusion. And again, friends, in the Global Trust Bank, all the statutory auditors who were involved, the members of our profession who were involved in signing the balance sheets of Global Trust Bank for all the 3 years were held guilty of professional misconduct. And again, the same fate, they had to lose their membership. Why I'm trying to bring to you these 3 big frauds, friends, is that the intensity of these frauds were huge. It impacted the profession, and I think all of us should be aware as to how we as professionals are expected to detect the frauds. So finally, friends, scope for frauds, detecting frauds is increasing. Today we have lack of expertise or time, and today a lot of new provisions have been inserted in the Companies Act that talks about fraud reporting. Today it is absolutely essential for you to report on all the frauds to the central government. Of course, we have tried to mitigate this because we went to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and told them it is not possible for us as a profession to report on each and every fraud. If you see the original Companies Act, we were expected to report on all the frauds taking place. Even 100 rupees fraud we had to report. We made a representation of the institute and we said that it is not possible for our profession to report on all the frauds. Then they brought in a cap, and companies' frauds that are taking place above the particular threshold limit has to be reported to the audit committee and then to the central government. I'm sure with all these new provisions in the Companies Act, fraud reporting would gain more and more ground, and we need to have more and more knowledge as to how we detect the frauds. So this is finally, friends, it's been increasing, financial frauds. This is what I would like to conclude, and they've caused a lot of losses to the government, general public, and the need of the hour, as Rajkumar very rightly said, is fraud prevention and then fraud detection, because fraud prevention is equally important. I think that is where internal financial controls, again, which has been mandated thanks to Satyam, both fraud reporting and IFC came because of Satyam, Of course, there are professional opportunities for our members, but though both these internal financial controls, certification of the controls and fraud reporting was because of Satyam, and there's a need for us to see how best good practices are brought in the organization, how corporate governance is strengthened, how the internal control framework is strong. And today, if you're able to detect, prevent a fraud in an organization, I think that's a big contribution we as a profession can do. Of course, in addition to preventing frauds, we also have to detect frauds, and there's one big opportunity for for all of us present here. And with this, friends, I'm extremely happy once again to be amongst you. I'm sure it will be a great learning for all of you, and way forward, please get in touch with us. We will be trying to see how best we can improve the knowledge in this area. And as Rajkumar very rightly said, there are many limited number of chartered accountants specializing in forensic audit. We had received a mail from the Reserve Bank of India. They asked us, can you provide us a list of forensic auditors from the institute? Rajkumar Adukia would agree with me. When we looked into the database of the multi-empanelment form, what all of you filed in the institute, we found that hardly about 250-300 firms were there having the expertise of forensic audit. Today, the Reserve Bank of India wants chartered accountant with forensic audit. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs wants chartered accountant with the knowledge of forensic audit. So there's a huge opportunity for all of you, and if you really want to get into this area, there's one exciting area for all of us to specialize. With this few words, I would like to thank the chairman of the bank.
A very highly relevant and educative address by our beloved and highly cherished leader, C.A.K. Raghu. Your session has really laid down a good foundation for the conference our entire day. The statistics that was displayed in your slides were informative. Thanks for sharing the video on cyber attacks. It was very attractive, and for your highly loaded vital information on various scams. CAs are experts in converting challenges into opportunities, and I am sure that your presentation has instilled the curiosity to take the field seriously and benefit from the same. Thank you, sir. A big round of applause, please. Immensely thankful to our dignified and distinguished guests and eminent speakers of the conference who are the backbone, brain, heart and soul of the event. To start with, C.A.K. Raghu, the immediate past president of ICA, our chief guest, C.A. Rajkumar Adukia, Dr. Rajkumar Adukia to be precise, the guest of honor and the keynote speaker, C.A. Parag Divadar, C.A. Manoj Khanna and C.A. Sundar Narayan. Each one of the speakers is of immense eminence, and I thank them for sharing their knowledge. Agreeing for sharing their knowledge. Their partaking as speakers has considerably enhanced our convergence and has certainly extended our knowledge horizons. Their contributions are immense and immeasurable. Whatever we appreciate is less and measurable. So I will be utterly failing in my duty if I don't thank you, the participants, for making this event purposeful, and with your invaluable presence you have motivated us throughout the year. For C.A.K. Raghu and C.A. Rajkumar Adukia, for both of them, this event will be a great sign-off event, and let us thank them with a big round of applause for all the accomplishments and the contributions that they have made to the profession. As a token of our gratitude and appreciation, may I now request C.A. Manoj Kumar to come onto the stage and present a memento to both of them. Many may be wondering why I alone is performing all the things.